Okay.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James, and Chris Dale.
Hello. Don't know why I sound like a policeman.
Do a bad policeman joke now?
Let's Be Avenue, 999 Let's Be Avenue. No, that's not really a joke. That's just a thing.
Gosh, well, that's a template for the sort of humour you could expect from this week's Gerry Anderson podcast. Pod 286.
Pod 286, that's right, the Gerry Anderson podcast.
I had to look at the script.
Yeah, you did, I noticed. We're getting through them at a rate of knots. We're fast closing in on our 300th, you know. Do we have plans?
No, but
when will that
Podsterons, if you can think of something we should do for our 300th episode, we'd love to hear your thoughts. podcast@gerryanderson.com or tweet us with the hashtag Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Yeah.
Or post on the Podsterons Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Podsterons.
Yes.
Do
all that. I'll tell you something we could do for our 300th.
Get it
right.
Oh.
Have a week off.
That's about the same thing, actually, isn't it? Yes. Anyway, so after all these years...
Yes.
Hang on, how many's 300? I can't even work out the numbers.
Well,
it's like nearly 6 years, isn't it? Can it be that long?
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
I've got old doing this.
Anyway, yes, so if you've got an idea, we'd love to know. Maybe, should we do a live one?
I don't know. It's too far off for me to even think about.
It's not that far off.
Got Christmas to get through, yeah.
But a nice live podcast in a nice venue would be quite fun. We could do it at the Curve in Slough.
Okay, fine. We don't need to have this conversation while people are listening, do we?
No, but I'm just giving them ideas. Anyway,
right.
Whatever we do, it'll be the same old nonsense that we've been doing for 285 episodes previously. Had to take the number again. Where we being you, Richard James.
Yeah, there it is. And you, Jamie Anderson.
Jamie Anderson, and him over there.
Oh, yes.
Chris Dale.
Oh, hello, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Oh, it's about time he changed out that T-shirt, isn't it?
I know, it's getting a bit whiffy. Do you want to tell him?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not telling him now in front of these people. I'll do it.
No, we don't want to embarrass the poor chap. Anyway, we're here every week, and we do Anderson stuff, and Chris does the Randomiser, and I do FAB Facts, and you do stuff. You interview people.
What do I do? Oh, yes, that's right.
Who are you interviewing this week?
Well, yes, that's right. Yes, we have a special guest joining us this week and next week for the two-part interview with Sadie Miller. Sadie Miller, voiceover artist, author, recently recreating the part played by her late mother, Elizabeth Sladen, Sarah Jane Smith in Big Finish Doctor Who audio adventures.
Yes.
But also a Gerry Anderson fan, thankfully for us.
Thank goodness. It'd be awkward if she turned up and she wasn't.
Yeah, it would. Well, actually, it would still be quite a pleasant conversation, I think.
I'm sure she's lovely.
Well, we'll wait and see. I'm going to hold judgment.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think because it's out now, isn't it? The Doctor of War that's been released by Big Finish. Has it?
I don't know. You're treading on very dangerous.
Well, if not, you'll have to cut this out. But there's a bit at the beginning. It's like an alternative Genesis of the Daleks retelling where they all get exterminated.
Right.
And I got to direct Tom.
Yeah.
Sadie and Chris Naylor playing Harry Sullivan to recreate that kind of iconic moment. Do I have the right? Oh. You can't doubt it. And I got Sadie to do her that lovely, frustrated, you can't doubt it moment. Oh, she's so good. It was so great.
I think you should interview her.
Nah, because it's only that.
Oh, that's all you have to talk about.
Also, with Craig Morris previously, I'm totally exhausted on interviewing. I needed until after New Year.
Oh, you poor lamb. How about you cheer yourself up with your favourite item in the podcast?
What's that?
Fab Facts.
Fab Facts!
Go on, have this one on me.
Let's do it now.
Yeah.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
You're so nice, letting me do Fab Facts.
That's quite all right. No, go on.
Okay, well...
I'd just like to see your face light up like that. It's quite sweet. It's quite endearing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Nobody ever calls me that. So I've got a book of Fab Facts, as you know.
We know that.
You're going to shout Fab.
Always.
During a period in which I'm flicking pages. That will stop me flicking pages.
Yes.
And then hopefully on that page, or a nearby one, there will be a Fab Fact.
You always make it sound more complicated than it need be, I think.
Yeah.
What were you just checking there?
Just checking that I had prepared the book adequately.
In what way?
I don't know. Anyway, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Here we go.
Fab!
Oh.
What?
Oh.
What's up?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Is everything prepared adequately?
Of course it is.
I thought it was random. I thought it was a thing.
It is random.
Right.
But, as we've said before, sometimes the flicking takes me to the middle of a Fab Fact. Or the tail end of one, and I have to flick back to the start of it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah?
I understand.
Because they're often 2 or 3 pages. I think we've got a 4-page Fab Fact, haven't we?
I don't know. I've obviously blanked that from my memory.
That was very
It
long.
was too much.
Yeah. Anyway, Pod
Yes.
286's Fab Fact.
Yes.
goes
Had to check the number.
as follows.
Right.
It concerns one of the unsung heroes of the Gerry Anderson universe,
About time.
a legendary figure
Yes.
who went on to garner legendary status,
no,
but
please.
when his services were required by a certain Barry Gray in 1957,
not me then.
was a lowly guitar for hire.
Oh.
Bert Whedon.
A name I know, yes.
Really?
Yes, I think so.
It's not one I know, so I'm going to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
Was born in East Ham, London, on May the 10th, 1920.
Right.
His early days in show business found him playing with all the top bands of the day, including Ted Heath, Mantovani,
Yeah.
the Squadronaires, not what I'm familiar with, and many others.
Right.
His extreme versatility acted as a stepping stone to a plum role as a featured soloist with the BBC Show Band Show.
Yes.
That's a great title.
The Showband Show.
The Showband Show, which meant broadcasting 3 times a week in the country's top pop music show, and this lasted for 4 years.
Yeah.
He was
Incredible.
quite famous then,
Absolutely, he
was
was famous, yes. And he famously released a whole sort of slew of lessons playing guitar the Bert Whedon
Really?
way. Yeah.
I mean, it may say this later on, but that's great to know. Thank you.
Yeah, right, thank you.
His early classical training later proved to be a great asset, since his thorough grounding enabled him to play any form of music at sight.
Yes.
Jazz, beat, ballads, dance music,
Yep.
classical, and even Spanish flamenco style. Makes sense why you've worn that shirt now. Perhaps it was this versatility that in 1956 caught Barry Gray's ear when he was approached to record the music for Roberta Lee's The Adventures of Twizzle, produced by a certain AP Films, I think you may be familiar with. Lee stipulated that Barry be appointed as musical director. However, she did not want Gray to compose the music for the series. Instead, her friend, Leslie Clare, hummed tunes into a tape recorder, and Lee wanted Gray to arrange, orchestrate, and record these for the show.
There you go. I want it like that.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Want my mate to hum it. Interesting. The first session recording for Twizzle took place at Gate Studios in Elstree on September the 6th, 1957, and cost a princely £115.
Amazing.
A 13-piece... Is that right? £115? That sounds very expensive then, but okay.
It's a 13-piece orchestra.
Yeah, a 13-piece...
In a studio.
Yeah, fair enough. A 13-piece combination was utilised with the legendary Bert Whedon on guitar.
Uh-huh.
Just a day's work for Bert Whedon, but part of a rich career that led to an appearance on Thames TV's This Is Your Life.
Yes, remember it well.
Among the people paying tribute to Bert were Eric Clapton, Brian May,
Yeah, right.
Hank Marvin, Phil Collins, Adam Faith, Val Doonican, Joe Brown, Lonnie Donegan, Marty Wilde. What a list!
Yes.
Marty Wilde, Frank Bruno,
Yes.
okay,
Did
Henry
you see?
Cooper, Paul Daniels, Gloria Hannaford, Basil Brush,
Oh, the greats.
and many other stars from the world of show business. How many other soon-to-be superstars had a brush with the music of Barry Gray and the world of Anderson? Perhaps Ringo Starr played the zither on Torture the Battery Boy. Or maybe Elton John tickled the ivories for I Wish I Was a Spaceman from 5 Blocks to 5.
Maybe he did.
He didn't.
Okay.
He didn't. They didn't do that.
No? All right.
Podsterons, if you know, do let us know.
Yes.
And maybe we can start curating our very own Gerry Anderson Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't heard of Bert Whedon. He was quite a ubiquitous
Isn't that
figure.
weird? It's just I find quite often that
Yes.
I'm basically culturally unaware.
Well, we know that. Yes, I suspected as much. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, nice. Because that's we know about the Spectrum, of course, who did the
Yes.
the Captain Scarlet theme.
And Cliff Richard in the Shadows on Thunderbirds I Go, of
And
course.
what's his name? Who did Wish I Was a Spaceman?
Don Spencer,
That's the one.
is that right? Yes.
No comment from the randomiser.
It must be
yes.
right.
Yes. So yeah, interested to hear of Bert Whedon appearing there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had
well,
no
look him
clue.
up. Look him up. Yeah. I think
Okay.
he died around about the same time as your dad. I think about 2012, 2011, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you.
So-
I mean, this is a lovely lesson.
There you go.
See, you learn things from FAB Facts every week, don't you?
Easy for you to say.
Oh, well, it's not clearly.
Yeah, great.
you
Like it very
you
much.
actually seemed quite interested there.
Well, yeah, I did quite like that one.
it was 2 weeks
Because
in
it
the
was
trot
fairly,
when
it
you've
was
been
fairly
happy.
brief. That's why.
It was still a 2-pager.
Was it?
Hmm.
What's
Anyway.
your ideal length of Fab Fact, do you think?
Or 1 page, really. Reading's very hard.
I know.
I have to really concentrate
you
to do
very
that.
well, yes.
You're so patronising. Anyway, Podsterons, if you know of any other superstars in the making who ended up connected to the world of Anderson, maybe just through music or maybe elsewhere, we'd love to
Well,
know.
I mean, we're going back to Idris Elba in Space Precinct there, then, aren't we?
Yes. Do we have to do that?
No, we don't have to. No.
It always gets brought up all the
It
time.
does, it does.
All
Poor
the time.
man. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, all because of his not very good American accent. Anyway, yes, email us podcast@gerryanderson.com or not.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But that is the end.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I've got no
Go
idea.
on.
Of this week's
Bird fact.
Music
fact's a bit generic.
I know,
isn't it?
but I couldn't think of anything else, and I'd actually forgotten his name by the time we did it.
That's right. I'm sure he'd say much the same about you.
Absolutely, and
So
rightly
I
so.
wouldn't worry, yeah.
Rightly so.
Coming up a bit later on, of course, we have the amazing Randomiser with the amazing Randomiser. We have the first part of my interview with the amazing Sadie Miller.
Yes.
We've got the amazing Podsterons to hear from as well, who've been emailing us at podcast@gerryanderson.com.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
Yes, it's the voice of the Podsterons. It's your opportunity to get in touch by emailing us at podcast@gerryanderson.com to let us know what you think about anything Gerry Anderson related. Questions, comments, abuse.
Ideally not.
Yeah. Shall I go first?
Why not?
Alex in Suffolk. Hello, everyone. That's nice, isn't
Hello,
it?
Alex. That's very generic, though.
Inclusive. No, it's good. I like it. Okay. Just a quick message of apology, he says.
That's a great way to
You were
start.
kind enough to read out my chronology question in pod 279, a question you answered unequivocally and concisely. Thumbs up.
Brilliant.
And to prove it, thumbs up emoji. This was about the Thunderbirds chronology, I think.
Yes.
However, being not very tech savvy, I wasn't sure my email had got through, so a week later, after the next podcast reminded me, I sent the same question again, which you then kindly answered in pod 282.
I'm sure when I read it, or when I said, I feel like this happened before, and we did it anyway. So there we go.
Yeah, I'm certain there was a look of deja vu on Jamie's face, says
There it
Alex,
is.
as he went through it all over again.
There was, yes.
Now I feel bad because I might have taken up another Podsteron's turn at having his or her question answered. Doesn't work like that, Alex. Doesn't. No. Sincere apologies to all concerned.
None required. Please take them back.
Yes, Alex in Suffolk. P.S. Is there any more XL5 merch in the works? Asks Alex.
Yes, Alex, there is.
Is there?
Yeah. Anyway, I've got one here from Caleb.
Such a tease. Yep.
G'day.
Good day, Caleb.
Says, I'm not doing the accent. That risks being very offensive, I think. I found a reference to Thunderbird 2's launch sequence in a rather obscure place.
Oh, yeah?
Have you heard of Wallace and Gromit?
Yeah, well, yes. That doesn't sound very obscure to me.
I should hope so.
Oh, yeah.
But if you haven't, I mean, who hasn't? If you haven't, Podsterons, and this is the first time you're hearing of it now, and then email us, podcast@gerryanderson.com with the subject line, I'd never heard of Wallace and Gromit until now. It's a stop-motion series made by Aardman.
It is.
Yeah. An episode in one of the short series Cracking Contraptions called Shopper 13 is where this reference occurs. Wallace and Gromit prepare something for launch, and after pressing the launch button, the scene cuts to their garage where two small trees fall down on either side, exactly like the palm trees in Thunderbird 2's launch sequence. It's then revealed that the thing that was launched was a shopping cart. And the trees falling down had no purpose whatsoever. What do you think? A coincidence
I think
or
not.
a reference? It's a reference.
Of course it is.
Obviously
Yes.
a reference.
Well, and the whole, the shoot coming down for breakfast and all that.
Yeah, and the pond flipping over,
Yes.
and Nick Park and the rest of the team at Aardman are massive Anderson fans.
Yes.
They reference it all the time. Nick Park cites watching Thunderbirds as one of the things that inspired him to go into animation in the first place. So yes, it's full of pastiche, homage, and
Fromage.
fromage.
Well, more cheese, Gromit. Yes,
nice.
we
You're
must
so
get them on the
clever, aren't you?
podcast. I have my moments. I mean, we can all relax now, can't we?
Can we?
Yeah, because we've had an email from Phil Steer.
Phil Steer. So nice to get one from Phil Steer, isn't it?
Hi, guys, says Phil.
Steer.
I haven't been in touch for a while. Yes. He hasn't.
Where have you been,
I
Phil
know, we've
Steer?
been bereft. So I really just wanted to say hello and that I'm still here and to thank you for the weekly podcast pleasure.
Our pleasure, Phil Steer.
But as I'm writing, I do have a quick question. Why does the randomizer not include Dick Spanner when it does include the Protectors? Are they not equally Gerry Anderson productions? Just curious.
Well, Phil Steer,
Yes.
the Randomiser is just around the corner.
Yes.
What's going on with Dick Spanner, Randomiser?
Well, it is in there, but I'm doing the two-part compilation version. So I did one of them, I think, back in pod 20 something. So that was a two-parter.
There you go, Phil Steer. It's actually not Chris's problem, it's yours.
Yeah, no. Also, he goes on, with your heartfelt pleas for all Podsterons to subscribe to the podcast, I just wonder if your stats give the true picture. For example, I listen, and of course subscribe, via Pocket Casts. Would you see that in your stats? I don't mean see me specifically, says Phil, but do you see any Pocket Casts subscribers? It may be that you have a much higher proportion of subscribers than you think.
We don't get any data from Pocket Casts. No, we only get data from the big ones, Apple, Spotify,
Now we're going back.
a few others. Yes.
Oh, I see.
But still, it all helps. Thank you.
Yeah. In a similar vein, as a Pocket Casts listener, I am unable to leave a revating. I say this not to defend myself, although many podcasts ago you did question why there was no revating from me, and strongly suggest it would be better for me if there were.
Yes,
that sounds
Phil
rather threatening. I'm sorry.
No,
about
we
that.
didn't do that. It was encouraging.
Ah, fine. But again, perhaps there are others like me who might wish to leave a revating but are unable to do so.
Well, you can still do it. There's like an IMDb for podcasts. Well, as we discussed last time, you can leave a review or a revating on our IMDb page. But there's also another one, and the service name I've completely forgotten, but we'll tweet about it or something.
Yes.
And it is essentially IMDb for podcasts, and you can leave a revating there.
Fine.
So, Phil, there are plenty of places you can do it.
There you go. But he concludes, so be encouraged. I'm sure most of us have subscribed and would leave a revating if we could.
Well, now
anyway,
you can.
enough of my wittering. All best wishes to you and all the Podsterons. Phil, brackets, Steer.
Thank you, Phil Steer. It's
Thanks,
always
Phil.
nice.
Yeah.
And now we can look forward to a Phil Steer revating on all platforms because now Phil Steer knows that Phil Steer can leave a Phil Steer revating. Thank you, Phil
Great,
Steer.
yeah. Look forward to it.
Good. I have an extremely compact one.
Excellent.
Jack McMorrow.
Yes.
Or maybe it's Jack MC Morrow. I don't know.
Oh, right.
There's a
Down with
space
kids.
there. Yeah. Could we get an SSC to complement the SPV and Angel Interceptor, says Jack.
Right. Could we?
Probably.
Are you going to just explain all those acronyms for those of us who aren't?
No, I think it's quite fun to leave them unexplained. No, Spectrum Pursuit Vehicle.
Yeah.
SSC, Spectrum Saloon Car, but also known as the SPC, Spectrum Patrol Car.
Now
There's
we do.
a constant argument there. It's the little red one with a little fin on the
I
back.
know, yeah.
Corgi certainly did one.
Yes, they did.
And
yes.
they're doing more and more stuff. I mean, they're doing the Stingray that we showed off. But,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So maybe.
Okay.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, fine. Great. All for now. Keep them coming in, as we always say. And you always do, actually. I mean, it's almost like I don't have to ask.
Why'd you bother?
But, well, the week I don't ask is the week we don't get any emails at
that'd
them.
be embarrassing.
Then what do we do?
We'll have to make 'em up.
We just hand straight over to Chris and the randomiser at the beginning of the podcast.
Well, many people would love that.
Podcast@gerryanderson.com. Send us your comments, thoughts, reviews, anything you want, really. And, if it's appropriate, we'll read them out.
They mostly are. Have we had any inappropriate ones?
What, read out?
No, not read up, but
Yeah.
there was that one.
Oh,
remember
that one. I don't want to talk about that.
No, with
I
the
think-
links on it.
I think the court case is still pending, isn't it?
Yeah, very awkward. Anyway.
Great. Well, now we've covered all bases, I think, there. I think it's about time that we moved on to our special guest this week. I'm very excited to have her in the studio. So, would you mind just vacating the chair?
Yes, I will allow you to move from the ridiculous to the sublime.
Ah, thanks. This week's guest made her TV debut aged just 8 in the BBC One film Royal Celebration. She's written short stories, novellas, novels and poems, as well as a novel for the Lethbridge Stewart range for Candy Jar Books. She's more recently reprised the role played by her mother Elizabeth Sladen, Sarah Jane Smith for Big Finish, but she's also shared screen time with a young Gerry Anderson. To tell us more, it's Sadie Miller! Sadie, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Well, you made an extra special effort to come all the way to Slough. I hope it hasn't been a disappointment so far.
No, it's been lovely. Thank you.
Now, we're going to talk to you about your wide-ranging career. Our viewers and listeners have sent in some questions that they will want me to ask you a little later on. We're going to be looking at some clips of your first Anderson memories, your favourite characters, and also a couple of little treats as well that we've thrown in for good measure.
Lovely.
So, a family of actors. Mother and father, both in the business, of course, Brian Miller and Elizabeth Sladen. What sort of a house did you grow up in then? Was it a theatrical household?
I suppose that it was really without intentionally thinking about it. I think by the time I came along, my mum was sort of semi-retired, so I don't think that her acting was necessarily something I was overly aware of, but certainly my dad was working consistently.
Yeah.
But it was all quite separate from me as a child. My dad did a lot of theatre work, a lot of work on the radio, stuff that I wasn't necessarily exposed to. So it just felt very, very normal, really. Nothing that I would say was particularly different about it. A normal family house, really.
Yeah, I see. And was there a moment in your early life where you thought, okay, there was nothing special perhaps about what your mum and dad were doing, but that you might want to follow in their footsteps at some point, or did that come later?
I think I was always a bit of a weird child. I always felt different to other kids, really. And I think my play and my creativity was kind of a disassociation a little bit from reality. I didn't really realise that's what it was until I got older. So I used to just love being other people and kind of getting to play different roles, even as a child. And it kind of the enjoyment, the play side of it was really what attracted me to it.
Right.
And I think with parents who are actors, who I think being an actor, you live a bit outside of the norm anyway, because your job is also such an integral part of who you are. And I think for a lot of people, they don't necessarily understand that dichotomy, because to them their job is very separate to the rest of their life. It facilitates the rest of their life, where for actors it is their life. So I think it was just something that I assimilated as part of myself, and I didn't really realise.
That's interesting.
So when I was working as a child, I think it was just the enjoyment of it more than anything else, really.
What do you remember of your early career? I think your first TV appearance was aged 8. Is that right?
Yeah, it was really good fun.
Yeah.
Everyone that I worked with on it was just a little TV film called Royal Celebration with Leslie Phillips. So I get to sit on his knee between takes, and he was so kind. And Minnie Driver, Rupert Graves.
Yeah.
Were my parents in it, and everyone was very very lovely to a little child. But it was I felt very adult at quite a young age, being around so many adults, and I think it's something that I wouldn't necessarily choose for my own children. I think it's nice to have a childhood that is not encumbered by the knowledge of adult.
Yes. Interesting. You mentioned there that what attracted you to sort of perhaps the acting side of things was playing. Make believe?
Yeah, totally.
Is that something you've carried with you into your adult life?
I think so, yeah. I try and be as disconnected from reality as possible at all times.
It's so underrated, isn't it, reality?
Absolutely.
Who
I
needs
think having that childishness and that playfulness is so important. I think when we talk about even finding partners in life, we talk about someone to grow old with, but it's about someone to be a child with forever, isn't it? It's finding that kind of all the things that you love as a child are really what connect you to the core of yourself, I think. So that was definitely how I always found my way back to myself, was through creativity and play, really.
So can I ask, what did you love as a child? Were you watching much TV or films, or what sort of culture were you consuming?
I would watch a lot of old movies, really, old Hollywood films. Lots of Hitchcock and Fellini and things that I probably shouldn't have been watching maybe as a child.
Yeah.
But I was always very entranced by women like, Betty Davis and Barbara Stanwyck, and these very strong, I guess, women on the edge.
Yeah, interesting.
And that was always what I was really drawn to, I think, even as a child, that idea of pushing all the corners of your human experience. That was always what I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned those strong women there. We'll come to this in a moment, because in our email exchange prior to you coming today, I asked you for your first Anderson memory, and it was of a very particular character who many would consider to be not a strong character at all.
Oh, interesting.
Perhaps we'll leave this conversation until we see it. Sure. But before then, I'd like to play a quick game with you.
Yes,
now,
lovely.
This is called Super Identification. No, there's no pressure at all. It's just a bit of fun. I'm going to play you some very quick clips from every one of the title sequences of Gerry Anderson's shows from the 1950s all the way through to the 2000s. 18 in total.
Oh, wow.
You can see a few scores ranged here of previous guests. Don't worry, we're not expecting you to be anywhere on there. Low or high, doesn't matter. Okay, it's just a bit of fun.
Perfect.
So have a look at this, and feel free to shout out any that you recognise or you're confused by.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, firstly, we're going way, way back here.
Oh, wow.
That was quick. Second one now. Still black and white.
Oh, my gosh.
Not ringing any bells.
No.
No, fine. Still very early days.
Space 1999, maybe?
Hold that thought.
Oh.
Now here's one.
Oh, yeah. Thunderbirds, of course, yes.
There's your first ticket for free. Very quick, and on to the next. This is a rather curious piece. No. And into live action now in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Robert Vaughan and Dog. What did you mention earlier?
Oh, Space 1999.
Got it.
This is an emergency.
Into the 80s now. Very popular with students, this one.
Gosh, it's too fast for my brain.
Very, very quick. We're almost there. And finally.
Gosh.
There we go. I know.
That's my.
I know. They come at you
Bamboozled.
hard and fast.
Gosh, I can't believe someone got all 18.
They did. I can't believe that Jerry made 18 TV
No,
series.
neither can I. Gosh.
Can you imagine that? Just getting one off the ground is difficult enough.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, I'm sure you won't be surprised to know you got 2.
Me.
2 is okay. 2 is better than 1. So look, there's your score on your rather fetching
Oh, thank you.
very own Thunderbirds doll that we'll put on the table a little later on. So obviously not that familiar with Jerry's work. I mean, I know you are familiar to some extent because you've given me a few heads up of some things that we can look at later. So what does the name Gerry Anderson mean to you, if anything at all? Obviously not very much as a young girl, but did you ever become aware of things like Thunderbirds? Can you remember when you first...
Yeah, definitely. I remember watching Gerry Anderson TV programmes growing up, but I don't think I necessarily was a fan. So in my brain, I don't think it's cognitively logged them as, this is this particular character from this particular show.
Yes.
I think the look of Gerry Anderson is so definitive that you can see a clip and know that it's Gerry Anderson, puppetry, puppet work.
Yeah.
But for my brain, not necessarily from... which particular shows. I think for me as well, not being particularly sci-fi minded as well, maybe. I don't know.
Well, for a young girl who was happy watching Fellini films, I can imagine the world's of Gerry Anderson.
So what's the one that he did with Robert Vaughn then?
That's The Protectors.
Oh,
so that's not
interesting.
sci-fi. That's sort of a bit of an outlier in that the project was brought to him rather than him producing the project from scratch, if you see what I mean. So, yeah, that's it's more of a sort of a spy adventure series from 1970. Chris?
1, 2, 3.
1971 to 3.
Wow.
But yes, Space 1999 you did remember, and you mentioned that early on, so that's obviously a name that was sort of floating around.
Yeah, I think it's also because of the Big Finish connection, because they do audios, don't they?
That's right,
of
Big
that
Finish
particular-
and UFO as well,
Yeah.
which was another one up there as well, So you have children of your own now, I believe. So what are they watching as how old are they?
So I've got 2 little boys who are 4 and 7.
Right.
And I think the way that children consume media now has changed so much, and they prefer to watch other content created by other children, really. So they watch a lot of children's YouTube and
Really?
and
Created by other children?
So obviously, parents behind it and
Sure.
stuff, but they like watching other children
Wow.
playing games or opening toys and that sort of thing to kind
Right.
of connect with their peer group, much more so than even film. We'll go to the cinema and they enjoy that experience, but they're much more interested in the immediacy of how it's kind of connects to them, rather than going into a fantasy land and being drawn into something otherworldly, I would say, from my experience with my kids.
And how do you view that? Do you view that as something of a shame, or is this just, every generation is different and moves on to other forms of media, and we've just got to accept that?
I think it's just the way that the world is changing, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? I think so much of our real life is transferring to being online that I think it's natural that children would project and see a version of themselves online, and that's how they would envisage them. I guess as kids, when you watch shows, when you watch films, you're kind of envisaging yourself as an adult, aren't you, to some degree? Oh, maybe this will be me, maybe something will happen to me. And when they watch other children and, going on holiday somewhere or playing a game that they want, it's almost that forward projection, I guess.
Yeah.
But it has more immediacy because they're seeing another child of their age do it. So I guess it's just... I think as they get older, they'll probably appreciate different TV and film. But at the moment, I think the ages that they are, they prefer their own peer group, really.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it, the way it's evolving and the way children are absorbing media rather than sort of watching it appointment to view has gone. I mean, that whole idea of sitting as a family around a TV to watch a programme is sort of pretty non-existent now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a shame. I definitely do feel that. I mean, I used to watch a lot of these more adult films because I was watching them with my parents, whereas my kids now, even at 4 and 7, they don't want to watch the same thing as each other. So there's no chance of all of us watching something together.
Yeah.
I think the only film that we've ever all watched together is probably The Wizard of Oz. So they do like older cinema, and they do connect to that. But I guess.
And as a young girl from a family that was in the business and moving into the business yourself, were you watching TV from an insider's point of view or an outsider's point of view?
A little bit of both. I think, obviously, people ask me quite a bit, did I enjoy Doctor Who when I was a child? And I think one of the reasons I didn't was because I would watch with my mum and she would obviously be commenting on everything and, this person is this, that person did that, oh, God. So you sort of start to disconnect from it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it would depend, really. And I think if you have parents who are actors, it is impossible to watch anything without them saying, oh, I know so-and-so, trying to watch Jurassic Park, oh, look, there's Bob Peck. It kind of breaks the fantasy a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
Yeah, to an extent.
You brought up the sort of the science fiction world there. that has sort of held no interest for you as a child, but it's a world that you've kind of finally had to embrace. Not had to embrace, you chose to embrace.
Forced to.
So are you happier within that world now?
I think so. I mean, I think for me, when I say science fiction, I think of it in a very purist way, where it's, little green men with 3 heads,
Yes.
Carrie John would say.
Yes.
Whereas I think with Big Finish, a lot of the sci-fi is wrapped up in something bigger than that. Like, say, Michael Crichton talking about Jurassic Park just moments ago.
Yes.
That idea of how, science fiction can shape our society and how it can actually involve, going back and forth in time and replaying history. So I think there's so many different components to it that as a child I wouldn't necessarily be aware of coming under the umbrella of science fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's time to have a look at your first Anderson memory then. You chose a rather specific character and a rather specific song. So let's have a look at this.
Strange enchantments that start whenever you're near. Marina, aquamarina, why can't you whisper the words that my heart is longing to hear?
And there she was, Aquamarina from Stingray.
Yes.
And that beautiful closing theme from the closing credits as well. What was it about Marina that transfixed you so?
Well, when I was a child, obviously I was obsessed with mermaids and underwater and everything like that. So seeing her in the water, I was like, I want to do that immediately. Let us go to the swimming pool and try and recreate those moments.
Right.
I think the music as well is just so entrancing, isn't it? I remember my dad singing along to it and things.
Every dad will sing along to that, believe you me.
Just something so magical and so otherworldly about it, I think.
That's right.
And in, I guess, a series that's quite male-centric, I suppose, to have something so ethereal, I thought was very captivating for a little girl.
Yeah, certainly. But what's interesting about Marina, of course, is that she never speaks. So that's why I was interested about you saying about, strong... You could be a strong woman and not have a line of dialogue, absolutely. But it's interesting. But that sort of wafty movement. I used to have a similar thing, you may not remember, Patrick Duffy in The Man from Atlantis. No, which is a TV series, and he played a man from Atlantis in modern times. But he had a certain way of swimming underwater, which I would try and I'd try and emulate it in the swimming pool.
Oh wow,
it's terribly sad, isn't it?
But there was another, I can't remember her name now, another female character in Stingray who is quite
Atlanta.
Yes, the daughter.
Yes, the daughter of Commander Shaw.
Yeah,
yes.
and so I always remember she was quite in charge and knew what was actually going on. So you still got that strong feminine energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever have a Marina cosplay outfit like you would do these days, of course?
No, I didn't. I think cosplaying now is amazing, isn't it? Just fantastic.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I mean, I have to mention your recent picture on Instagram that seemed to take the world by storm. Would you like to explain?
No, I just dressed up as my mum. Not even the whole costume, just the top half from Planet of the Spiders, using our spider that we put up for Halloween and just like a little stripy top. And people were very receptive to it, which was really nice.
It was lovely, yeah, absolutely. It was in the Radio Times, they tweeted it and all sorts.
Stupid. I feel so silly.
I mean, perhaps this is a bit of a heavy question. Do you feel that you're somehow curating your mother's sort of legacy and so on in the little homages, and obviously playing Sarah Jane for Big Finish?
Not particularly. I think that people nowadays like to brand certain things and put a certain narrative on things because it creates content, because the importance of creating content is just part of anything showbizy nowadays, I guess. But I just live in my own little silly world.
Yes,
do silly things that make me happy and hopefully don't offend anyone.
No, exactly right. Great. Now, we do have some fantastic questions from our listeners and viewers, if you're happy to answer them.
Yes.
So we put them in our rather tasteful Space 1999 lunchbox.
The chap on the front.
Yes, Martin Landau as Commander Koenig, the lead actor from Space 1999.
I never knew that.
Google
my
it.
gosh.
Yeah.
I love Martin Landau.
I think you'll love Space 1999. Yeah, worth a look, isn't it?
Oh, wow.
Every day's a school day.
Yeah, I never knew that. Oh, my gosh.
There you go. So reach into there and take a question.
Okay, so this is from John Reed. If you, I think we've probably covered this.
Go on.
If you could be any character in a Gerry Anderson series, who would it be? Well, I would have said maybe actually Atlanta.
Yes, right.
But now, any character in space 1999 in order to meet Martin Landau, if I could go back in time.
Well, you
Can't
could,
believe that.
You could always be Barbara Bain.
Dye my hair,
Yeah.
sorted.
But his wife in real life played opposite him in Space 1999.
That's amazing. I can't believe I never knew that. What a terrible...
Not at all. No. We forgive you. Don't worry. Another question.
Ooh, a chunky one. Scott Anthony Bicklicky.
That's it.
I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
Hi, Sadie. Mike, my question is, if there was ever a reboot of Stingray, this is insane, what would your dream role be, such as Atlanta, etc.?
Well,
I'd love to play Atlanta, but I would also happily play anyone. The actor's response. I will play anyone.
Yes, yeah, quite literally.
Please cast
Available
me, Jamie.
for panto, bar mitzvahs, children's parties. Yeah, that's right.
Please cast me, Jamie. Thank you.
Not too subtle a plug for work there, I don't think.
Oh, and Steve Bushell. Oh my gosh, Sarah Jane Smith was my doctor's assistant. My sister almost got named Sarah, but my parents vetoed it. What? Apparently I called her Sarah anyway. Oh, it's lovely. My question would be, how old were you when you realised your parents were famous? So I don't think of my parents as famous, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're maybe a Brangelina child, then you could say your parents are famous. I call my mum a niche micro celeb.
Oh, I think that's slightly unfair.
Well, actually, before she died, if you Googled her name, a picture of Sherry Lungi would come up, which I would...
Why?
I don't know. So I used to troll my mum about it. We would laugh
How
about it.
bizarre, yeah. Gosh.
I think probably when I started going to the conventions, I realised my mum had a little bit of profile and that
So you
Doctor
went
Who was this
with
great.
her, you mean?
Yeah, she would always take me along.
Right.
And obviously I realised her connection to Doctor Who and how important it was to other people, which I think was the most amazing part of it, really. Not that she was famous, but that she was connected to this wider community that, you know, meant so much to people, which was always really special. But yeah, no, she used to take me along, and I haven't taken my kids, so...
I was going to say, of course, you're now part of that community.
Aw.
So how does it feel now from the other side of the fence, as it were?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very humbling, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think to be, obviously, you know, we've performed together,
Yeah.
I think we can say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly humbling to be part of something that is so special to people, that people grew up with, that's now generational, you know, parents watching it with kids, I think is just magical. And we need more of that in the world.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Time for a couple more, I think. So deep, plenty in there.
Pick it
That's
up.
it. Don't worry.
Right, here we go. Jonathan Westall. I'm really enjoying your performance as Sarah Jane Smith, my favourite companion for Big Finish. How has it been for you playing a fan favourite character over the past few years? So I would say when I first started, I was obviously very apprehensive because it's a well-loved character and you don't want to mess it up. And then once the Sideman story came out and people accepted my performance as Sarah, it's all kind of snowballed from there and been a wonderful experience and a privilege to be a part of. But I definitely was very nervous. And if it wasn't for the fans of the show and people accepting me, I wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you. Thank you to all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fair to say that there was a little disquiet about the idea of recasting favourite old characters, particularly from actors who are no longer with us, the earlier Doctors and companions and so on. But how difficult, or was there ever a moment of doubt for you? Or was it a given that you were going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Daisy and I, you know, take over from our mums. You always have that thing of, should I do this? I'm not quite sure. I think when they brought in Tim to be John Pertwee, they did it very sensitively because he was the narrator, I think, first of all, before he then took over the role properly.
That's right.
But they approached me at a time in my life where it just slotted in very well, and I felt like it was the right thing to do, in lieu, obviously, of Mum not being able to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And of course she would have been delighted, wouldn't she?
Oh, well, I think she'd probably be pleased it was me rather than someone else. But,
exactly right, yes.
I'm sure she'd have some comments on my performance.
Okay, and the final one for now.
Do a chunky one. Right.
Good, yeah.
From Alex Pass. Sadie starred in several excellent audio remakes, alternative versions of classic Who stories, and recently was pictured recreating that famous Planet of the Spiders publicity still. Is there a particular Sarah Jane story or scene she'd like to take a crack at in the future?
Oh.
Well, I got to do Genesis of the Daleks with Jamie, obviously recreating, which was really
So talk us through
amazing.
that. What's that about? How come you're doing Genesis of the Daleks?
So I think they found some of the original scripts, and so they were kind of recreating what might have been on screen, and there was a bit of patching it all together, which was exciting. But in terms of ones I'd like to take a crack at in the future, I don't know really. I mean, my favourite 2 stories were always Time Warrior and Prisoners of Mars, and I think that Prisoners of Mars especially has a very Hammer horror vibe, doesn't it? The Mummy is almost exactly the same as the Christopher Lee Mummy.
It well.
So if Jamie wants to make that, please call me. I am happy to be chased by anyone.
Sadie, why don't you just leave your CD on the desk when you leave? And your spotlight link, and we'll pass
just
it
put
on.
myself out. But anything. Or Russell, please call me. Someone call me.
Now, I'm guessing you were involved in Big Finch's 60th anniversary special, Once and Future, I think. Their sort of umbrella series. So what was that like, and when did you do that? I mean...
So that was a couple of years ago, because we record them, well, obviously you know as well, out of order and at different times, all being remote and whatever. It's very easy to lose tracks. That was a couple of years ago now. So it's really exciting for me, because when they come out, I get to listen to it and hear everyone come together. Yeah, which is brilliant, really.
We worked together on a Tom Baker story we were saying over lunch that Jamie directed, and it was during COVID, so it was remote. I was in the cupboard in my garage, and we were trying really hard to remember which one it was. What is that? What was this? Because it's not out yet, of course.
Yeah, so
may not be for another year or two.
I guess so. I can't remember the name of it, because I think they changed the name, or there was some confusion with another Big Finish story, I think.
Right.
So,
yes.
But I don't think we'd be allowed to say the name if it's not come out.
Probably not. No, so we better be very careful.
Yeah.
I expect the first thing we'll know about it is when it pops through our letterbox and we get to listen to it.
Yes, definitely.
So I'd love to talk to you more about Big Finish next week and your work as Sarah Jane and others. But for now, I'm going to show you a little clip of something where you shared the screen with someone not a million miles away from here. So let's have a look at this.
Well, of course, I have made a lot of children's programmes, things like Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet, Joe 90 and so forth. But the real tragedy of my life is that my son, Jamie, is...
a Doctor Who fan.
Yes, a Doctor Who fan.
The biggest joy is that a year and a half ago, Sadie started to notice Doctor Who, to watch it, and you enjoyed it, didn't you?
Yeah.
And our house is literally packed with TARDISes of all shapes and sizes, and videos and books. I mean, you name it, it's there. We're going to have to move house shortly to make more room for his Doctor Who collection.
I had no idea. You see, the videos are coming out now. There's a whole new audience. It's so exciting. It's really back to youngsters again, and this wonderful thing about a hero, and Doctor Who will win. They need it. They love it.
I think that the role of the monster and the frightening story is very much the role of the ogre and the giant in fairy stories. It's something to be frightened of, which is containable because it's obviously made up. A child can accept a monster when it's quite clearly not something is going to meet round the corner.
Sadie being very brave in the face of a Sontaran.
Well, I got to do a really big scream, and then they cut it
out.
No! Which I remember being very cross about. But that poor actor in that Sontaran costume, I remember mucking about that mask and tweaking his nose and just being a terror.
So that's more than 30 years in the TARDIS, a documentary celebrating more than 30 years of Doctor Who, with you and Jamie.
Oh, lovely Jamie.
But you say you never met on the day, of course, because it was filmed separately.
No, just chatting with Jamie before, I totally thought he was the other kid. I didn't even realise that was Jamie, which is ridiculous now, watching it, where it literally says on the screen, Jamie Anderson.
That's right.
But it's lovely.
Yeah. Which sort of brings us to a question, thinking of Jamie and thinking of you in your position and the careers that you've chosen to follow. I was at drama school with Lucy Briers, Richard Briers' daughter, and Daryl Pertwee, John Pertwee's daughter.
Oh, wow.
And they sort of sought each other out because they had shared lived experiences of following in famous footsteps, shall we say. Are you aware of kind of, being part of some sort of legacy, or is that too grand a term to use?
No, not at all. I mean, I think that legacy means different things in different ways for people. I think everyone takes from their family things that have come before, and you kind of assimilate it into who you are. But it's not something that I would necessarily think of in my everyday life, apart from Big Finish. For example, obviously, no one in my local area, I live kind of quite a remote place, no one knows about Doctor Who. Right. No one at my kids' school knows that their grandma is.
Right.
It's just very separate.
And has that been a deliberate thing to keep it low key in your life and just be part of your life?
It just never comes up.
Yeah. I see.
And I would never bring it up, so I kind of appreciate it and enjoy it for what it is. But it's not something that I would ever, I don't know, try and push to the front unnecessarily, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Now, just before we round off for this part of the interview, it's time to play Quick Fire 5.
Oh, God.
It's another game, but there are no points here, so it doesn't matter how well you do. It's simply, I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and they require an either or answer.
Okay.
So there's no right or wrong answer, essentially, okay? Are you ready for these?
Yes.
Okay. A trip to the seabed with Aquamarina or a trip to the stars in Fireball XL5?
Oh, seabed.
Oh. Choose your transport home, Thunderbird 2 or Lady Penelope's Rolls Royce?
Oh, probably Thunderbirds 2, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, you can get home much quicker that way, for sure. You have the keys to the TARDIS. Do you go back to the past and the Wild West of Gerry's series Four Feather Falls, or forward to the future and the moon base from Space 1999?
Oh, no, that's so difficult. I'd go for Martin Landau.
Would you? Yes. Not sure what Barbara Bain would have to say about that, but okay. Choose a pet. You can choose Oink the seal from Stingray or Mitch the monkey from Supercar.
Oh, Oink.
And finally, the agents from Spectrum in Captain Scarlet are named after colours. So choose yours from the Dulux colour range. Are you Captain Apricot Crush or Lieutenant Mineral Mist?
Mineral Mist, I guess.
I knew you were going to say that. Well done. That's your Quick Fire 5. I told you it'd be quick and painless. There you go. So all for now, but just in case there are any viewers or listeners out there who might want to follow you on social media, are you active across any X or Twitter or Instagram that you're happy to share with us?
So my Instagram is at Sadie Miller Writer VO.
Yeah, great. Okay.
A nice long one.
Got all that.
And then I think from there you can get to Threads. I'm not on X anymore.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, I see. Yeah, had enough. Been there and done it. Okay.
Well,
thanks so much for joining us this week. I hope
so
you'll
much.
come back next time to Slough and join us once more.
Thank you so much.
Look
Thank
forward
you.
to it. Thank you, Sadie Miller. Sadie Miller. Back next week.
Yes. I just have an image of her in her red and white stripy dungarees.
Oh, yes. And did you see that fantastic picture of her as her mother from the Planet of the Spiders that she posted at Halloween?
Yes, Halloween, lovely.
Yeah.
It's
beautiful.
so nice, isn't it?
It is. More from her next week about her Anderson memories. And I think we'll be talking a little bit more about her Big Finish experience as well.
Good.
It'll be nice, won't it?
Great, she's so nice.
Meanwhile, over on our Facebook group, does it need saying? Facebook.com/groups/Podsterons.
Certainly not like that.
No, that's right. Anonymous member. I didn't know you could post anonymously.
Oh.
Fair enough. Double dose of Anderson. Thunderbirds returns to Australian screens on 9Gem, 6 a.m. Saturdays in half episodes, and still the 2001 transfers. This morning was followed by Adventures in Rainbow Country with Atlanta herself.
Oh.
Says anonymous member.
Thank you, anonymous member of the member family.
Is that the Norfolk members, do you think?
Yeah, that probably is, yeah.
Yeah. And then Clint Nicholl says, just noticed this in the catalogue for the prop store auction on the 9th of November in the UK. A bit rich for me. And he posted a link to Lot 100, I think, which is a Captain Black head with replica body and costume from the Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons TV series. An original Captain Black puppet. And he posted a picture with the estimate beneath. How much do you think, well, what would you be willing to pay for an original Captain Black head and replica body?
I mean, many years ago,
I
think Dad sold an original Parker head with a fixed body.
Yeah.
And back then, I think that went for £30,000.
Oh,
but then
okay.
there's the old inflation going on.
Sure,
isn't there?
sure. But that's a pretty ballpark figure.
Yeah,
You're
at
in the right area.
least double that by now, I would say.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
But the estimate was between £60,000 and £120,000.
£120,000? I mean, heck, yeah.
If you had it, would you?
What? But buy it?
Yeah, if you had the money, would you?
No, because I think it needs to go to a collector who really, really wants to have Captain Black in their collection.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
And that's not me.
No, but you could buy it and then sell it to them for a much inflated price.
That would be a terrible thing to do, Rich, and I would never do such a thing. Anyway, moving on. Adrian John Heath posted, I was just watching the latest edition of the Late Break Show on YouTube and noticed Johnny Smith was wearing a Joe 90 t-shirt. Is he a fan? Could he be tempted onto the podcast?
Okay, right. Well, there's one for my list. Johnny Smith from the Late Break Show. I'll have a look.
Yes,
on YouTube.
he's got a very unusual Instagram handle, I believe. Remember?
Fair enough.
Oh, it's Car Pervert.
Oh, right, okay.
I think it's Car Pervert.
Fine.
Anyway, don't go and search for that. Search for the Late Break Show and then see if you can find out who it is. And then, I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, and finally for now, Daniel Phillips says, because I normally drive vans for the Scouts, I'm usually in some Scout clothing of some kind when I drive them.
Okay.
So it feels weird driving them in your own clothes. It makes me think of when Virgil takes Thunderbird 2 out not wearing his uniform. Also, as I used my bike to get to the van rental place, as it could go in the back, that means it technically had a pod vehicle.
Right.
Living
so
the dream
technically,
there.
Daniel, you are Virgil.
Absolutely right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, don't tell the missus though, because that's Charlotte's hot crush. That was.
Oh, really?
Virgil, yeah.
Gosh. Saucy. Anyway.
Yes, that's it for now. Do join in the fun on our Facebook group. Post your pictures, post your comments, because I very often trawl through and mine it for content for the
Trawl
podcast.
makes it sound like a real hard job.
Oh, it's not at all. It's a pleasure. Pleasure and a joy.
Happy trawling.
Yeah. And also, of course, I do mention their upcoming guests and ask for your questions. So it's a great place to put your comments for future interviewees.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Right. Well, from trawling.
Yeah.
In a joyful way.
Yeah.
To randomising.
Yes.
In an even more joyful way.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's time for the randomiser with Chris Dale.
Yeah. Should we just let him do his thing?
Yeah.
Go on then, Chris.
Well, Sadie, thank you very much for joining me on the Randomiser sofa today. I believe you have been briefed on what this machine here is.
I have, yes.
Are you feeling confident that you can press that button and give us a good episode
I am,
today?
yes.
Okay, let's see what you've got. Have at it. Thank you, that's it. And is there anything in particular you would like to see come up on here today?
I'd maybe say an episode of Stingray,
Episode
possibly.
of Stingray.
Yeah, see what we've got.
Oh, well, that was what our previous guest wanted. He didn't get
really?
that.
Oh, no.
And it appears that you don't get that either.
No, it's a supercar.
It's Supercar. It's the first episode of the second series. It's the Runaway Train. So, it's time to welcome back to the Randomiser good old Supercar with the first episode of Series 2, and straight away we can tell that between series...
Proceed with Operation Eagle.
This general has taken something for those very strange pupils, but we now have model effects being carried out. This helicopter with a grab is picking up a tank. Yes. And, you know, it doesn't look amazingly convincing. I would guess that's a very basic tank model kit that somebody probably grabbed from Woolworths. But it's just a huge step up from what they were doing in the first season in terms of effects. And that leap from Series 1 to Series 2 of Supercar is an interesting one, because I feel certain areas, like the effects, they did improve, or at least they were more willing to try. Perhaps it doesn't always come off. Oh no, look out! Oh dear. Well, that's our 50p tank from Woolworths gone up in smoke. Yes, but equally, we've improved with the effects, we're more willing to make advances, but there is at times a step back in terms of some of the storytelling, not always. This was infamously the point where the Woodhouse brothers, who had written most of the first season, were not invited back.
These tanks for him to play with.
And Gerry and Sylvia basically wrote the remaining 13 episodes of the series. Some stock footage there. Also between seasons, George Marcel has left, and Cyril Shaps is now voicing Professor Popkiss and Master Spy, and also some of the puppets. Actually, I think really most of the puppets look a bit different, and on the whole, I don't think they look better. Popkiss hasn't changed that much, Mike hasn't changed that much, but Beaker and Mitch in particular, the eyes are just not the same in the Series 2.
These things can't always be expected to work first time, you know.
You were supposed to be in this room when the massive explosion went off, Jimmy, but, you know...
Actually.
Oh, dear. So Beaker is working on something. something to assist in the lifting of tanks.
Second test.
And I do like the humour in this episode.
Unsatisfactory.
Yes, we are coming up on quite a silly, but it's July 10th. Oh no! Which we've established is a Captain Scarlet Day, except it's also the day in supercar history when there was an explosion at the Black Rock Lab.
Check. Yes.
So Beaker is working on something. He appears to have succeeded. He's very excited here.
I think I can claim success.
Even though I don't think anybody...
I've got an idea this could be pretty dangerous.
Stand by for another.
Anybody knows what he's doing, but I love that reaction from Mike as well. Beaker succeeded. Keep your heads down. This is going to be trouble. Yeah, Mitch just doesn't look right for the second series. And also, this is the point where they started to push him even more into comedy than he was already part of. So I really like the first season, Mitch. Despite his, annoyances, he is a useful ally to have around. Not so much in the second series. But Beaker has developed an electromagnet for supercar.
On towards the magnet.
To assist with the lifting of tanks and other heavy things.
That will register the pulling power of the magnet.
Yes, so perfectly safe to turn on. Because, of course, nobody in the Black Rock Lab has any kind of metallic objects about their person. Dear. Also, I think between Series 1 and 2, and we'll see possibly in this episode an example of that, they've gone from being ultra top secret to everybody kind of knows about them, which culminates at the end of the series in King Cool with them going on TV to play a jazz number. Anywho, the magnetic power is building.
The magnetic field.
Oh dear. There's lots of familiar sound effects here that would turn up again in many other Anderson shows. Some nice body language in the mic puppet there. Well, yeah, it was very impressive.
I even feel it pulling the buckle on my belt.
Here we go, comedy time. Trousers come down, watch is off.
Mitch, what do you suppose
It's a good thing nobody has like a pacemaker, or do pacemakers have metallic components? Fillings might. Earrings. But Beaker just looks at the chaos and loves it.
It's satisfactory. It's proved that it'll lift over 150 tons. It's pulled out every screw and nail in the lab. It's broken your belt and your pants are falling down. And now will you please switch it off?
It's one of my favourite Graydon Gould lines, that bit. Just, I said before, I always love the reluctance and exasperation that goes along with being Mike Mercury, especially when Beaker's around. So that's just a lovely moment.
Soon be airborne, Colonel. And then we will demonstrate with Supercar how the new magnetic grab works.
Oh, you mean you fitted the magnetic attachment in Supercar? Well, what happens when you switch on? Doesn't it affect Supercar's controls?
No, Colonel.
And again, I think I've said before, something I like, but sometimes got a bit excessive in the first season, was fretting about things. So if we do this, will this happen? Yes, Mike, if we do this thing, then this other thing here will not happen. And again, you have a little bit of it there with the general worrying about Supercar. Again, this is something you never got in the first series, because in the first season, I think in the very first episode, in fact, Black Rock Laboratory is a painting. I don't think you regularly see the outside of the building until the second series, which famously, that is the model that turns up in the opening titles of Thunderbirds and gets completely destroyed.
Timing is just right.
Whoa.
Mike will now take Supercar through the south.
I thought that was a sudden, very sudden dip there from Supercar, which now has a tank attached to it.
Tank attached to it? Isn't that kind of dangerous?
Yes, don't you know by now that that is all this team does? Dangerous things. Well. There you go.
He's done it! By Jove, he's done it!
Through the sound barrier. Even if I do say so myself with a voice that isn't too far away from Mike Mercury.
Thank you, Colonel. I try my best.
Yes, re-establishing Professor Hopkiss's culinary skill.
I will personally see to it that you are well rewarded for your services to the United States government.
A new belt for your trousers.
Well, glad to have been of service. I will give you the plans so that you can build the device, and we will keep the one that is installed on Supercar. We may find it very useful.
Perhaps in the next 10 or 15 minutes. There's an old publicity photo of Beaker. I think that's from when he was making toast.
It would appear that a number of people have heard of my invention. This letter is from an American company.
It's from a Mr. M. Astopspy.
Going to England?
Well, you know how it is with Beaker, Jimmy. Any excuse to visit the old country.
But you're not going. Yeah, so that seems to be the first time that the Supercar team has got any kind of fame or public acknowledgement. And instead of being concerned about it, as they had been previously, now it's like, oh, great, free publicity. And another very cramped Supercar journey. Legroom in that thing is just... I would have to imagine that Hopkiss's knees are just under his shoulders. Under his shoulders? Under his chin? I mean, technically they would be under his shoulders somewhere, but not immediately below. And in the stock footage of London, who do we find? Well, stock footage of Big Ben. Yes, recognise these two figures.
Good evening, madame.
I think, yeah, again, these two look like they've had some work done between seasons as well.
Lucky, sir. We have only 2 rooms left.
And this is a fairly grotesque puppet playing the receptionist.
Mercury, you know. The famous test pilot.
Okay. So something has happened between seasons that means the Supercar team are now world famous. Maybe Beaker's film that he was making in the very last episode of the first season was a big hit. Who knows?
I've got an important announcement to make.
Somehow we've smuggled Mitch through quarantine, and I think it'll be rather fun to let him loose in London Zoo and see what happens.
You? Drive the train?
Ah, yes, there's a train, as you would expect with the title Runaway Train.
You see, it requires scientists to drive an atomic train.
Yeah, and Britain has none.
This I must see.
Yes, Beaker and Hopkiss are going to be put in charge of a train.
Railway siding at Thameside Station.
I can't remember why, and it would almost certainly have been mentioned in dialogue that I waffled over.
Dirty work.
Oh. Yes, also between seasons, I think we lose some of the library music, the non-Barry Gray library music that they were quite fond of. And it's all Barry Gray now. That piece of music turned up again in later shows. It was in XL5. It's in Captain Scarlet. It's even in 1999, quite surprisingly. It's in Collision Course.
Do you know who will be on board that train, friend Zarin?
No, Master Spy. A very important person who has caused much trouble to the foreign government, who pays us so handsomely for our services.
Oh, then.
Now then, if we file away...
So are they trying to kill Beaker?
They will not be able to undo them.
Specifically?
Then they will be helpless to stop the train crashing into the station at the other end.
Oh dear. So devious. Also nice that there's no security on this train. There's lots of stock footage this week, though. There may not be any more stock music, but there is stock footage. Ah, new atomic train.
It is different from a normal train because this is only a test run.
Yeah.
The atomic engine has been fitted into a standard diesel-electric vehicle. And if successful, the railways intend to build an entirely new, modern atomic train for this run. prototype.
And if not successful, diversions will apply.
I could drive that train. Guess they're about due to start off any moment now, aren't they?
Well, Jimmy, if you felt that badly about it, why didn't you speak up beforehand instead of 2 minutes before the train is due to leave the station? Yes, for some reason, it's Beaker and Popkiss who have been assigned to man the train.
Out of the station, the crowds wave and cheer it on its way.
And this is a good example of, I think Cyril Shaps is, as much as George Marcel was an asset to this show, Cyril Shaps is an asset to this show. And it's a shame that he never came back to do more voices.
I've always wanted to drive a train.
He was in one scene in an episode of The Protectors after this.
Professor, I've got to attend to the atomic reactor soon, so you will be able to take over.
Mike Mercury.
The train's only just set out. Why do you need to look at the atomic reactor already?
Beaker here.
How's it going, Doc?
Oh, fine, Mike. Just fine.
Okay. Hey, Doc, if you have any trouble, we're standing by here close to Supercar. Over and out.
Yes, I don't know the origin of all of this footage, but the shots from inside the cab looking straight ahead, this is from the famous London to Brighton film that was quite well known at the time. It was just a film of the journey, but I think sped up to like 5 minutes or something. So it's quite useful for this episode's purpose. Wow.
Most satisfactory.
I don't know, was Beaker involved with this project before, while he was making the electromagnet? Was he also involved with the setup of the train? You would think that the scientists who worked on the project would be involved with this.
There is something wrong. I cannot seem to reduce speed. The controls seem to have developed a mind of their own.
This could be a problem.
Beaker, do you hear me?
And I don't think George Marcel and Cyril Shaps sound all that different. There is a definite, change in style.
And I can't reduce it.
But
hold on, Professor.
There's no real sort of like a good Popkiss and a not so good Popkiss.
Speed rapidly now.
I don't know to what extent kids at the time would have been aware. Probably not at all, because they would have been watching this one episode at a time.
Go down to the lobby and get all the newspapers you can. Beaker will want to keep all the press cuttings.
Sure, Mike.
The train hasn't arrived yet. What use are those papers going to be? Oh right, yes, there's a Mitch bit coming up with the cards.
It must be sabotage. Somebody has filed off the heads of these screws.
Oh dear.
And without special equipment, it will be impossible to remove it.
So, yep, the atomic reactor on the atomic train cannot be serviced. It's a very sort of low-key discovery that this has happened.
To think, Beaker, we must be going at least 200 miles per hour.
But it's nice that Popkiss has finally got some time out of the Black Rock lab. Even if he is stuck on a runaway train, hurtling to his doom.
The reactor has been sabotaged, and there's nothing I can do to stop it.
No.
Oh, Mitch.
You're smoking my cigars again.
I've got the papers, Mike. Say.
But there's nothing about Beaker in there.
And they look just like Master Spy and Zarin.
Master Spy and Zarin?
Oh, now, Jimmy. Yeah, I knew it. I knew they wouldn't believe him. No one ever believes Jimmy. I wonder why.
Hello, Dr. Beaker. Mike here. What's the trouble?
Hello, Mike. The atomic reactor driving the train has been sabotaged, and we are hurtling along, completely out of control.
And it's so cool. I wonder if this is the first time that an atomic reactor has been fitted to anything, to an Anderson vehicle before. Because we really have the beginnings of like a Thunderbirds rescue scenario here. Indeed, we saw it with Brink of Disaster. A runaway train needing to be ultimately rescued with magnetic grabs.
Okay, Beaker, I've got a plan. I'll call you as soon as I can. Right, Jimmy, downstairs at the lobby, pronto.
Even more newspapers, Jimmy.
Beaker, before we come to the end of the line.
At this speed, a half an hour at the most.
Are there any passengers on this train? I suppose there must be, 'cause there's quite a few carriages.
And a very thin man, you say? Why, you must mean Mr. Masterspoon and his friend.
Yeah, that's him. Where is he?
Mr. Spoon. Oh dear.
Go by car. Said something about Brighton, I believe.
Yeah, that figures.
Okay, so they are actually using the London to Brighton footage as the real London and Brighton. It's quite clever.
Soon we will arrive at the station and watch Dr. Beaker's...
I nearly mentioned the back projection on the train earlier, but this looks like Zarin is driving a car that's just stuck on ice. The car's going sideways.
Full boost vertical.
And again, Master Spy doesn't look like he has too much room to sit. This is good stuff, though. It's another one-episode attachment to Supercar, though. I don't think I remember seeing the magnet on the bottom again. It's far too bulky to make that a permanent change to the model.
Hello, Mike. We wondered what had happened to you.
Now listen, Professor, we're chasing Master Spy. He's your saboteur. We'll catch up with him any minute now, and then I'll make him talk.
And you'll know what he's done to the reactor, man.
Good, Mike. Only hurry. There's not much time.
Oh, I wasn't coming to save you, Professor.
Do my ears deceive me, or can I hear that dreaded sound of supercar?
Mike, I can see him. I can see him, Mike.
I wonder if that is specially shot footage of a car filmed from the air.
They're going to land on top of us, Master Spy.
Oh, there they are.
Landed on top of us.
My goodness, Master Spy is a big puppet. Big hands, big chin. This is fun, though. It's totally ludicrous, but it does show the extent that we're pushing the model footage first, and also just the slightly more absurd visual imagery.
What's happened, Master Spy? We're flying.
What fiendish trick are they playing?
Dear. Yes. Balancing Master Spy and Zarin's car on top of a...
All right, Jimmy.
Some kind of tower.
Hover alongside until Master Spy decides to talk.
Gee, I bet this is the first time that a car's been balanced on top of a TV mast, Mike.
Right. Full boost vertical.
Okay, Jimmy, whatever. I'm not even going to dignify your comment with an answer.
Now listen carefully, Master Spy. We know you've sabotaged the train, and you're going to stay right where you are until you tell us exactly what you did.
Quick, Master Spy! Lean back.
Oh yes, Master Spy's weight is causing the car to rock backwards and forwards.
Quick, Master Spy! Lean forward!
I do like this as well, as silly as it is. But they do know what happened to the train. They filed the heads off the screws.
That train now? Absolutely nothing. Please believe me.
He's lying, Mike. He must be.
No, Jimmy, I don't think so.
I believe you, Master.
I want to see him fall to his death, Mike.
Just to save your neck. I'll come back later and pick you up.
Oh. Yeah, just leave him there. Why not?
Quickly, Master Spy! Lean forward! No! Lean backward, Master Spy!
Poor Zarin. It can't be much fun being Zarin.
I'm coming up to try and stop the train with Supercar. I'll fire the retro rockets and hope the force will slow it down, with Supercar magnetically locked on the roof of the train.
There's the track over there, Mike.
Oh, thanks, Jimmy. I never would have found that without your help.
Hurry, Mike! Please, hurry!
Aww. It's sweet. It's sweet. I mean, for the time, it's very ambitious. And it's great to see them experimenting more with the back projection stuff. Oh, not long to catch up to them there. Good thing Supercar isn't too wide for those railway tunnels.
Oh, hurry, Mike! We're at the station approaches!
Oh, no! Yes, I should probably have looked more into the history of the London to Brighton footage. I'm sure it must have also been used in other films and shows over the years.
I can hear Supercar's engines.
Yes. That's obviously not a real train. That looks like, again, possibly a train set that they would have picked up from Woolworths. But for a brief shot, it doesn't matter.
Landed on the roof of the engine and locked on with the magnetic grab.
Wonderful! Now, if he fires his rockets, it should stop Supercar and the train.
Firing
That's right, Professor. Thank goodness we've got each other to explain the obvious to. Here we go. Supercar slows down the train, having landed on top of the magnet, and just in time stops them at the station.
Oh, what would we do without Mike?
I love you, Professor. It did look quite close there.
Well, thanks to you two, we are perfectly all right.
Well, thanks, gentlemen, for the compliment. And now I've got to rescue another.
It's all in a day's work for Mike Mercury.
It hangs in the balance at the moment.
Quick, Master Spy! Lean backwards! Quick, Master Spy! Lean forward! Backward!
This went on for some time. Oh dear. So that was first episode of Supercar Series 2, The Runaway Train. And I'm sure I've said, directed by David Elliott. Which is the first episode of his I've seen on the Randomiser since he left us, which was only a few days ago when this is being recorded. And I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of Series 2 of Supercar. I think the positive changes that were made are kind of outweighed by some negative changes in terms of the storytelling and the characters. But at this point, none of that is really evident, and it really is what you want from the first episode of a second series. It's building on the strengths and the successes of the first year. So absolutely, this is a step up from the end of the first series. It's good stuff all the way along. I love The Runaway Train.
Supercar.
Travels in space, under the sea, blah, 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 blah.
Supercar.
Yes. It's lovely, isn't it?
It is nice. I like a bit of Supercar because, as you know, I do bear, it has been said, a startling resemblance
to Mitch the Monkey. No, obviously to Mike Mercury. In fact, if you of everyone involved in the podcast, who would play whom?
In what?
In a live-action version of Supercar.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh. I thought that was going to be a bit of fun, but let's move on from that. Podsterons, if you've got your own podcast team casting for a live-action Supercar, please do let us know who should play whom. I think I know where that's going to go.
I do too,
Don't
exactly.
be rude.
No, quite. That's right. Word in my ear tells me, we were talking earlier about the Captain Blackhead.
Yes.
Well, the auction was a while ago now.
Yes.
It went for how much, Chris? It went for 75 grand.
75,000
So there you go.
Earth pounds.
So they were right in their estimate. When do you stop saying Earth pounds?
I don't know why. Isn't that amazing?
75 grand.
Yeah. If you're the person who got it.
Well done.
Well done. I can't believe you listened to the podcast.
Can you lend me a fiver?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, there we go. Amazing.
Do you think they'll be auctioning our heads at some point in the future? Do you think we'll get to a point where we can have our heads frozen upon death and they'll be auctioned off?
I don't really want to be sold to someone else without my knowledge.
I mean, I'd have your head on my bathroom
Okay,
windowsill.
Let's move on from this.
To gloat at.
Weird.
I wouldn't put you on the bathroom windowsill. I'd use you as a doorstop.
Right.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Podsterons, if you've got any idea for the taxidermied heads of the podcast crew, do email us, podcaststerons.com.
Right, stop it. It's getting silly now. I think we should say goodbye.
I really think we should.
Yeah, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
I feel like we've done our post-show bounce during the show there.
Yes.
So I've got nothing to say.
We've blown it.
We've
I'm
done
dry. I've got nothing
taxidermied
left.
heads.
Yeah. I don't know. No.
See you next week.
We've got to do something. We've got to make something up. Yeah. No, let's just forget it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. That was an Anderson Entertainment production.